This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
But the moment you say no, that is shedding. Even if it feels super uncomfortable, even if it's scary and feels awkward in your body, that is a moment of shedding. So you're saying, I actually can't do that. And noticing the shock of how it feels, or the shock on the other person's face, or the awkwardness that's hanging in the air, that is shedding. And walking into that year of the horse, because you're actually taking action on it. You're listening to Make Some Noise podcast, episode number 707. Welcome to Make Some Noise podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so glad that you are here. Guess what? My latest book, Live Like You Give a Damn, is out in the wild. If you haven't already picked up your copy, I encourage you to do so. It is 25 chapters of personal growth for you. These are 25 chapters that I downloaded intuitively as the next things to work on. I'm covering everything from trauma and reparenting to finding your motivation. Of course, I'm talking about fear again and how to handle fear. It's a lot of different places where you can open up the book to whatever chapter strikes your fancy. And you look at it in the table of contents and think, that's something that I want to learn about. All of my books have been like that. You don't have to read them cover to cover. You can pick and choose. You can choose your own adventure. Also, tomorrow, December 18th, if you're listening to this afterward, you can still sign up and go grab the recording. I am hosting a workshop called Live Like You Give a Damn as the World Burns, because it is rough out there, right? We can't ignore the fact that things have been so normalized in terms of the incredible amount of difficult things that are going on in the world, right? That we have to contend with, which can make it really tricky to think about 2026 as being our best year ever, which can make it kind of tricky to really focus on any of your own personal growth goals. So I am hosting a workshop that is all about staying grounded. It is about keeping your heart open. It is about keeping your spirit intact when things are really difficult. So I'm taking this to basics. I'm taking it down to brass tacks. So head on over to AndreaOwen.com/LLYGAD. That is where you can sign up for the free workshop. Just click on claim your bonuses. Even if you don't have the book, I don't want that to be a gatekeeper of sorts to have you come to the workshop. You can come to the workshop even if you haven't purchased the book. It's not a prerequisite. So click on claim your bonuses on AndreaOwen.com/LLYGAD, and you can sign up for that. I hope to see you there. All right. So I wanted to do a little bit of a closing out for 2025 for the end of the year. And I was thinking about what this year has meant for, I think, for many of us, maybe not everyone, but the end of the year is always a time for natural reflection, right? It's a natural moment of reflection. And also, 2025, according to the Chinese zodiac calendar, their zodiac cycle, 2025 is the year of the snake, was the year of the snake, I should say, now that we are very much towards the end of it. And coming up next in 2026 is the year of the horse. And the Chinese zodiac cycle each year carries a symbolic energy tied to one of 12 animals. And the snake invites shedding and new beginnings. It can point to renewal. The horse, the year of the horse, can invite us to look at clarity. It can invite us to look at action, movement, our strengths, things like that. The transition from 2025 to 2026, and this is sometimes all about just perspective and how you look at it. It can look like an internal release, so the inner work that we've been doing, into external momentum. Using that internal awareness, the internal growth, the internal work we've been doing, going into what kind of action do you want to take? So that's what this episode really is about. And also, there is a accompanying, I always have a hard time with that, accompanying, I think that's how you say it, PDF worksheet for you that's free. The free download worksheet is at AndreaOwen.com/707, or it's in the show notes. Download that free worksheet because I'm going to ask some pretty big questions here, and they are perfect for journaling. So that's what those worksheets are, because I'm going to go through them pretty quick here on the podcast. So what does shedding really mean? What does that actually look like as well? That's what I'm going to talk about. So shedding can be and feel like clearing space. It is never a punishment or anything like that. It's never about forcing the letting go of anything. It's a natural clearing space. It's a natural letting go. It's releasing what is maybe too heavy for you, feels too small or too tight, just something you've outgrown. And it often feels uncomfortable because it kind of forces us to break patterns that are familiar, or at the very least interrupt patterns that can be very embedded and familiar. So I wanted to spend some time giving you some real life examples of what shedding can look like in your life, because sometimes it can feel like, what does that even mean? So if we are shedding what I want to call your outdated identities, and so when you get to a point, and you might be very well into your work already, but realizing you might get to a moment where you realize that you've been living as a past version of yourself, or maybe you've been making decisions from a past version of yourself. This is an easy example to point at if you're trying to cultivate a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship. But if you feel like you have still been behaving as you were when you were younger, if you've still been kind of attracting and maybe picking partners or dates that you've been on that is more in alignment with a past version of yourself. So that's a place to look at. Maybe I've outgrown this identity and it's outdated for me now. Maybe this past version is someone who has poor boundaries, who tolerates too much, self-abandons, stays small, maybe stays in a relationship for too long. Maybe you're in a relationship and realize that you have stayed for too long, and that you are living as a past version of yourself and you need to go. I've definitely been there. And so the shedding and the going into action might be finally ending that relationship that you've outgrown, because the identity that kept you there, the version of you that kept you there, has expired. And it's time for you to face that reality and take action around it. So that's an example of an outdated identity. So maybe you want to shed or feel like it's time for you to shed things like people-pleasing patterns. So this might happen if you have found yourself catching yourself and having some self-awareness in the moment that you choose to say no, even when your default usually is yes, and it kind of feels awkward in your body. So maybe you've been at that place where you know that you need to actually say no when you feel like saying no, and you normally default to yes when people ask you for favors or to go the extra mile, whatever it is. But the moment you say no, that is shedding. Even if it feels super uncomfortable, even if it's scary and feels awkward in your body, that is a moment of shedding. So you're saying, I actually can't do that, and noticing the shock of how it feels, or the shock on the other person's face, or the awkwardness that's hanging in the air. That is shedding. And walking into that year of the horse, because you're actually taking action on it. Another example is maybe you are ready to let go and shed any kind of fear-based decision making. And this comes when you recognize that you tend to pick the safest option because the risk feels too big. Maybe you get to a point where you know this about yourself, but you choose an aligned option that feels scary, feels like it's the most scary option, and it feels risky. So maybe you are sending a really difficult email or making an ask or raising your prices if you have your own business or stepping out of the shadows to show your art, or whatever it is. You know that you have a tendency to make fear-based decisions and you are taking action that is hard for you. That is shedding and moving into action. Old coping mechanisms that keep you numb. When you notice where you overwork or overscroll or overdrink or over whatever, because it's easier than feeling the feeling or doing the other action that you know is probably better for you. So the shedding and the taking action would be, instead of numbing out every afternoon or every night, maybe you pause long enough to ask, what is really going on with me right now? What is it that I really need? Okay, one more example. Stories and narratives that you've carried for decades. Maybe a story that you've repeated to yourself is, I'm bad with money. I always mess things up. I'm too old. I'm too much. That can be just a tired, old, boring lie that you inherited from your conditioning, from your family of origin, from wherever you picked it up along the way. And then you realize that is something that you want to shed. So even just practicing, creating new beliefs, practicing thought work, practicing noticing, that is taking action. That is getting on that horse. All right, we're going to take a quick ad break. When we get back, I'm going to talk to you about why this matters. Why is this a thing? Why am I making an entire podcast episode about it? Be right back.
It's that time of year again. When you start arranging pumpkins on the stoop, try out a new cranberry sauce recipe and plan out a tablescape that'll outdo last year's. In other words, it's when you break out all your DIY holiday skills. And now, ADT is making it easy to DIY your home security too. Their systems aren't just simple to set up, they also fit within your budget. So get excited for your next project, because your peace of mind just went DIY. Visit ADT.com or call 1-800-ADT ASAP. When every second counts, count on ADT.
You know how the holidays sneak up on us every year? Suddenly it's December, people are coming over, and you're looking around your house thinking, okay, what else needs a little glow up? Or maybe you're like me and you still need gifts for half your list. This year, Wayfair has honestly been my lifesaver. They've got everything: bedding, decor, all the last minute things you don't realize you need until you need them. One of my favorite pieces I've ever gotten from Wayfair is this little mirror that has a whimsical yellow frame. It hangs on my gallery wall at home and it feels playful but still elegant, and it fits my moody, eclectic vibe perfectly. And the best part, it showed up fast, like actually fast. No stress, no giant delivery fees, just easy. Wayfair is that rare place where you can find something for your kids' rooms, your guest room, your kitchen, and also snag gifts for people that you love without hopping around to 10 different websites. And with the holidays basically here, this is the moment to check those last things off your list so you can actually enjoy the season instead of scrambling. Get last-minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. This show is sponsored by MIDI Health. Let's be real. Midlife healthcare for women, historically trash. If you've been told, like I have, it's just aging or you'll be fine when you're not sleeping, you're sweating through your sheets, or feeling like a stranger in your own body, you are very much not alone. Even today, 75% of women seeking menopause or perimenopause care are left untreated. That's not okay. But there's good news. It's time for MIDI. MIDI is a women's telehealth clinic founded by experts in midlife health, and they actually listen. You get one-on-one, face-to-face care tailored to your unique needs. And they're the only women's telehealth brand covered by major insurance, making expert care accessible and affordable. From hormone therapy to weight loss support and lifestyle coaching, MIDI has your back. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. Midi, the care women deserve. Okay, we're back. I have told you guys before that I have a hard time when it's the new year because I personally, this is just my experience, I don't feel extra motivated or inspired to do things in the new year. And I know a lot of people do. I personally don't. However, I do want to say this. Rituals matter. And the end of the year can absolutely invite reflection. And this moment, and when I say this moment, I mean noticing the shedding and the opportunities for taking action can have extra meaning when you see it symbolically. This is why I love metaphors, because they can not only have us understand things easier, they can have us understand these sometimes big, sometimes esoteric, wild theories and ideas, and they can help us narrow it down. And so anytime there is opportunity to see things symbolically or metaphorically, I'm on board. I'm on board. That's why this information is coming to you now. So the snake asks for pause, inventory, and honesty. It invites you to slow down for that pause, to take that inventory, and to get honest. And if we skip that part, if we skip the shedding, the letting go, the new year action, if that's what we want to call it, the year of the horse, the action can often just create more sort of like emotional clutter, which is honestly like why resolutions rarely stick. It's like, let's just tack on more goals. But I love the end of year letting go and what's to come, because it can absolutely help you clean out the old stuff and make room for the new stuff. Shedding always creates space. It can hopefully create clarity for you, and it can create a sense of steadiness and almost an anchoring and consistency in that regard. And so here is the part where I am going to talk to you, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Again, there is a PDF that has these questions and room to take notes on them. I highly encourage you to go and grab that PDF, print it out if you can, and take some notes and do some journaling. Get your thoughts out. Do some shedding in order to take some action. All right, let's explore some questions. All right, first question. What am I tired of carrying into another year? So maybe there's been something that this question I posed very specifically in terms of the tired of carrying into another year. Where have you been wanting to make some changes or consistently made commitments around something that isn't happening? Maybe it's been a few years and you're just sort of tired. Are you tired of carrying the negative mindset that you have? Maybe you're beating yourself up a lot. Are you tired of carrying the feeling of gathering a lot of information, but not taking any action of it? Are you tired of carrying the worry that maybe you should look at your relationship with alcohol, or the anxiety of maybe I should look at my marriage a little bit more closely to see if it's something I need to either try to help mend or move on? What are you tired of carrying into another year that feels heavy? That's all this question is asking. Not necessarily for you to do anything about it, but sometimes it can be helpful just to be asked the direct question of what is it? What is it? And it can just be a very short answer. The next question is, where have I been abandoning myself in subtle daily ways? Where has the habit of putting myself last, even though I swore that in 2025 I was going to start making myself a priority? That's an example of abandoning yourself. Where have I avoided having hard conversations because I knew that it was just going to lead to something uncomfortable, that I didn't feel like I had the coping skills to manage it, and that's why I've been neglecting having the hard conversation, even though I know I should have it? Where have you been abandoning yourself there? So these subtle things that we do that have become a habit that might be daily or at least on the regular, where have you been abandoning yourself? Next question. There are 5 of them, by the way. This is question number 3. What belief about myself is ready to fall away? These questions also, you guys, these might be a just pick one. Just pick one because they are big whoppers. They whoppers. You know I love a whopper of a question. What belief about myself is ready to fall away? Do you have any negative beliefs about yourself? Things that you believe to be true, or at least the language that you use in your head is definite and decided upon. So for example, I believe that I may never find love again. I believe that making money is hard. I believe that I don't have the skills to make it through this difficult time. Sometimes it takes a minute for you to get to the root of what it is that you believe about yourself. And sometimes with this one, it can be helpful to look at your behavior because sometimes our thoughts don't match our behavior, especially if you've been in the personal development world for a decent amount of time. Sometimes we understand the concept. I'll give you an example. I understand the concept of worthiness, that it means that I believe I am worthy of love. I'm worthy of connection with other people. I'm worthy of having good and healthy relationships with other people and with myself. But my behavior might not show it. So that means that I am not doing anything to work on my own blind spots in my relationship. It might mean that I'm still beating myself up fairly regularly about things. So your behavior might point to something else, that there might be more work to be done. So that's where it might be more helpful to look at what your beliefs are, is by your behavior. Any behavior that you're doing consistently that you don't like and that you know is unhealthy for you, maybe look at that. Pull the thread on that to see if there is a core belief about yourself. 4th question, what part of me is trying to grow and expand and develop, but can't because something else is still in the way? For example, when we think about shedding, and I can give you a personal example. I knew there was a point in time where I knew that the part of me that wanted to really lean into my emotions and feel them and process them and alchemize them like they needed to have happen. I knew that part of me was trying to grow, but I couldn't because I was still afraid that it wasn't safe. Certainly, I was afraid that it wasn't safe to show this in front of another person. I didn't have the courage to create that vulnerability with another person. And I really didn't have the courage to create that vulnerability with myself. So then it became, I had to ask myself, okay, well, what is it that I'm most afraid of? And it's really like when you get into these places, getting curious, that thing I tell you about all the time, getting curious is the key here. And I just said it previously, like you're pulling a thread. This isn't, these questions many times, and sometimes they won't get you to the big aha epiphany that you might need. Again, they might, but my point is, and my hope is that these questions will allow you to start pulling a thread to ask yourself more questions. Questions like, and then what? And what am I afraid that might happen after that? And then what? And then what might happen? So then you just kind of keep pulling on it to see where you get. Okay, 5th question. If I shed just one thing before the year ends, if I shed just one thing in the next few weeks, what might that be? Is it a particular belief? Is it a particular habit that you have created in times of stress that you're wanting to let go of? If you could shed just one thing before the year ends, what might that be? And what would free up the most energy? If it's something that could free up the most energy for you, like, could you shed the worry that you have that things are going to completely fall apart in 2026? I don't know. I picked a very dramatic example there, but I mean, sometimes that's kind of where our brain is at. But what if it could just be easy? That's one of my favorite questions to ask. What if it could just be easy? I'm not asking you to automatically think that, but just give it the opportunity to be an option for you, that it could just be easy. What if it could just be easy and that you could go into 2026 feeling peaceful? understanding and knowing that your excessive worry about it is not going to make things better. Understanding and surrendering and knowing that there are a lot of things, most things that we don't have control over. Understanding and knowing that there are a few things that you do have control over, and maybe it might be best just to focus on those. That is what I'm asking when I'm asking that fifth question of shedding one thing. What might that be? What would free up the most energy for you? Again, you can grab the PDF of those questions at AndreaOwen.com/707. It's also in the show notes. Remember that 2026, the year of the horse energy is about freedom, grounded action that feels good. It's about momentum and movement. And that kind of energy works best when it follows some kind of letting go, when it follows a shedding, not when it gallops right into it without any kind of shedding. And because when you release what weighs you down, you create so much clarity. When you get curious and then release what weighs you down, you create clarity without pushing, without forcing it, without trying to make it happen when it's not meant to. I don't know. It's my opinion that we don't need a master plan for the new year. We just need enough space to breathe. We just need enough space for the next version of you to have clarity and for the next version of you to be able to breathe. All right. So that's what I have for you towards this end of 2025. I really encourage you to jot down or write down your answers or even voice note them. I know that can be super helpful for people too. I have plenty of clients who process verbally and they use Voxer or other voice notes to send me messages and answer big questions like this. And I invite you to do the same. Don't forget, free workshop tomorrow, December 18th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Head over to AndreaOwen.com/LLYGAD to sign up for that. Links are in the show notes. And remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now. Hey, did you know there's free secret podcast episodes waiting for you that are not part of my regular podcast feed? Yes. AndreaOwen.com/free. And you just sign up. You get a link sent to you. It's very secret. It's like a secret club. We don't have a secret handshake. Don't worry about that. But it's these motivating podcast episodes that I made for you. They're under 20 minutes each. There's 3 of them. They're for wherever you are in your life. So head on over there and grab them. They range from really supporting you and seeing you where you are and being compassionate, all the way to giving you a giant kick in your ass and telling you how amazing and gorgeous and phenomenal you are. So AndreaOwen.com/free and get your hands on that free podcast feed.
DSW, Designer Shoe Warehouse, is the one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between, for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW has what you need, but more importantly, they have what you didn't even know you wanted. You never know what you'll find at DSW. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or DSW.com.